agriculture. Some will be the Ministry of Agriculture. They have to go through a process of delivering those grievances through appropriate channels. And the performance of innovative systems depends on interaction among different people and the institutions responsible for generating and disseminating knowledge and technology. So, for example, in the Ministry of Agriculture, kulima various services that are there under the public service. And they have to develop innovative systems to ensure that people have access to that knowledge and technology that is available. And also taking into consideration with the ministry, there are other ministries that I also work with that put into play from a grand scale of things affect agricultural productivity. So, for example, Ministry of Education, imabangabo technical training, some will also include agriculture. And agricultural innovation systems are characterized by two chief factors. First of all, the combination of participants involved and the dynamic interactions among them. So the key participants involved in the agricultural innovation system includes farmers, farmer association, providers of inputs or technical and financial services that promote the development or adaptation of the new knowledge. These people come together, and they have to engage with the farmers who use them, people who have pesticides, they have financial services. So we talked about the privatization where there's the voucher system, right? You remember the voucher system. So for example, voucher not the extension service in Ayo, apparently they should put back into agricultural practice. You can see that this agricultural innovation system fosters an opportunity for all of these individuals to meet. For example, Kandi Agricultural Conference. Yes, I'm a something in agriculture. We meet there. For example, the trade fair. And how much man and Hosiana and have you call come up man and they meet through a fair such as that. And also promote learning those who engage in additional value to production and those who facilitate the market access. So they include, for example, not magudira mina magudisa so koma amini ama they go through the production process. For example, food. They will go through that fair to meet farmers or cooperatives that maybe will be contracted putting aluminum soil. Kabena, those that facilitate the market access. So I'm talking about the brokers, Kabena, but I need to see that Zambia. I can link you with these people. So I'm they're just linking you with another market in an area that maybe is not closest or accessible to those farmers. So you can see that the agricultural innovation system it puts into play, I say, a small chunk of the activities that they go through that agricultural innovation system. So now we explain or discuss the issues of the importance of the innovation. So in broad sense, possessors, the innovation is critically important in meeting the challenges that confront the human race. As I pointed out, innovation is important because it addresses the problems that we identify, and agriculture is one of those key issues. So you look there, it sees that in terms of confronting challenges, the issues such as improving competitiveness. What do you mean, Timanima, for example? Let's say we are power. Amalima for brand, Amalima for Aronga. Komaso, Amalima for Zambia and the other countries. How do we develop our products that way they can be competitive? For example, Mubarak, Kumawera and Osa Kulas Nezide. How do we create our competitiveness? As a marketing, Komaso Nobo should generate the better products that and for how come na magura zimuzita azuza nota kumadu mahali nimemu mapezeka kulitira jani kulitira ma. Sustainability is also very important because it's very useless for you to engage in agricultural practice in the long run, maybe in the next 10 years sumzabana. And equality in agriculture. Equality is one of the key issues also in innovation because an example that we can give, for example, in my station services. If, for example, we do privatization of the station services, there is reduction in equality. They only benefit primarily those farmers that are large scale and they make a lot of profit. Now, small scale farmers who produce and in a small scale, they lack maybe the capacity. They are severely disadvantaged with this system of innovation. For example, access to financial services, maybe they don't meet the requirements of the financial services. So how do we address innovation to ensure that there is a level of equality, but also providing capacity for those maybe that don't have the requirements to meet the standard of, for example, the market, the process and production of other agricultural products. And importance of innovation also looks at the issue of producing more food for a growing population and using the limited amounts of farmland. So the issue of farmland is being discussed a lot in the issue of sustainable agriculture because manyumba will require land, transportation networks will require land, the development of the city. So land is required for a lot of things. So we need to compete against these things and also develop a mechanism to create agricultural production that is most efficient using the least amount and particularly limited amount of farmland. My ones that create hypotonic towers, right? My kamugandi what particularly liquid ndoda kulongweka omumu basi zintu zijamamira mukati. So when you're looking at a tower such as that, it's reducing the amount of farm space. And this suggests that agricultural production needs to use knowledge more intensively, which means it must be innovative. So investment in agricultural research is also an area that has been shown to improve economic growth. So the research is particularly important in terms of agricultural processes. For example, how do you take care of that particular product? How do you store those things? What are the methods in which that particular agricultural produce can create other products? So this research and development is very important in improving economic growth, particularly because zinthu zoti mangolima kumunda nikungogulisa bezi zimakhandingwa kuti, right? As opposed to when you have created a actual product. For example, dates up another per kg in the 358 peanut butter maybe somewhere around 8,000, 9,000. So you can see the economic output that is coming out when you process a farm product as opposed to just selling it as it is as a raw material. So investment in agricultural research is also very profitable. So after looking at innovation, we also make reference to economic growth and economic development. That is coming in from agricultural innovation and the agricultural innovation system. So, Mabangapo, any course on the development of economics? What? Any course on development of economics?
Economics.
Not of economics. Okay, so we know the concepts of gross national product and gross domestic product. So economic growth means the capacity of an economy to generate growth rate of GNP or the GDP, 5 to 7% a year. So for a country to capitalize on the resources that are available in their country, they must have these kind of goals in terms of economic growth. So in capitalizing, for example, in using agriculture, they have to target, for example, a 5 to 7% of growth in GDP. So GDP means goods and services, while GNP is equal to GDP minus the depreciation. So GNP is a gross national product and GDP is the gross domestic product. So economic growth also means an increase in the real national income or the national output. So that would be irrespective of whether or not that national output is being consumed in that country, right? So it still translates to increase in economic growth because it means we are benefiting. And economic growth is a short term, while economic development is conceived as multidimensional process involving major changes in social structures. Economic growth is considered as a short term because it can go, for example, of a year and what is going to happen after a year. But many economic development immerses itself in structures that affect economic growth. It is multidimensional. For example, economic growth is just going to focus on increasing output. But many economic development would focus on things such as promoting, for example, human knowledge, facilitating access to education, because, for example, and Hamina Lokunzila, they can transform the community as opposed to people who are not educated. And vocational training, you look at regional partnerships and so on. So economic development, as we are putting it, is multidimensional and involves major changes in social structures, popular attitudes, national institution, reduction in inequality, eradication of poverty, for example, measures of literacy, life expectancy, and healthcare. You'd see that economic development is multifaceted. Because, for example, they won't, uh, they won't contribute to the economy. They have days in which they miss. And when you are looking at people that are most literate, as I put it, as education, they affect the productivity of the country. And also social structures such as families. Changing people's attitudes towards things such as having a lot of children. How are you going to be able to take care of that child, while some school, clothing them, feeding them, and all of those things? So you see that economic development focuses on areas that in the long run are going to affect economic growth. So economic development is more long term. So there are favorable conditions that sustain economic development and favorable conditions that sustain innovation as well. So innovation in agriculture and rural development, as in other sectors, takes place in a given socio-economic context. And it is determined by the presence or absence of favorable conditions. So my favorable conditions, we are looking at the factors in the environment or the factors in the community that are favorable in ensuring that there is more agricultural productivity and rural development. So this would include sufficient domestic development, regulatory framework, reservoir of knowledge. So when you're looking at reservoir of knowledge, for example, as Malawi, you can say, tufuna tulime strawberry, right? Muna au strawberry au, you know. You don't know, okay, have you tried, okay, when I sounds with that, like what? Oranges. Yeah? Orange, orange, you must have a and I think it doesn't have mountain. Okay. Tomato, we can say it's sweet, it's nicer than our way. So I'm giving in reference to that reservoir of knowledge. Pay no is only you want to develop an agricultural innovation, but you do not have the relevant knowledge to make sure that that agricultural practice is profitable. So the reason why I was driving to strawberries is strawberry konobo and panambo kuzisana it. But then when you are looking at production of that particular product that is done in other countries, they have developed or they have sustained enough knowledge for them to be more profitable in that agricultural practice. So how do they develop agricultural knowledge? And also human skills, economic and financial conditions. When you're looking at the financial conditions, I'll give you an example. We looked at the innovation that provides, for example, loans in agriculture. Panomba financial condition yangu mahali kidogo. Do you think it would be profitable for a farmer to take a loan? Panomba things are more volatile. And on top of that, how does only my bank we have to make profit? How much is the interest rate? Panomba interest rate as of 2024 enough about 36%. So behind the you say you wait again 36 quad. On top of 36 quad, you have insurance rate. So insurance rate not what in the insurance rate is over 5 or 6%. So it means you are feeling for the 2% of total of minimum. So financial conditions are very important in terms of maintaining innovation. So the reason why we're looking at these financial conditions is in terms of engaging in more productive agricultural practices. So ungakwanisa ndama imene uli nayo kuti ungagule china chilichonse in terms of the inputs. Koma mwina utabwerekapo kuti mwina ndidabwerekapo kaya ndi tractor koma ngati ukubwera tractor mwina ndama yako ndiyosapania. If the financial conditions are not favorable, it's going to affect the agricultural productivity and also rural development. Furthermore, certain interactions in linkages also condition innovation. So the innovation process generally arises in response to different types of triggers. For example, when the market, the technology, the society, the environment, and regardless of the origin, they always require presence of favorable conditions. There are issues or triggers that affect innovation and the whole process, such as the markets that are available or the technology that are more available for that agricultural practice. So it is therefore important to ensure enabling environment for innovation, and the government, including different sectors, ministries, and institutions, are key in playing a role in these innovative practices. And furthermore, the favorable conditions for innovations include government policies. I talked about the policies in the agricultural innovation systems. Putting my policies, they are very important. So basis of these favorable conditions, the agricultural policies that eliminate market distortion. So for example, price setting in any market, kuti muna manga seti kuti chimanga ndama yakuti. Kwa malinga ndiko no membendera ndizovuta nalipa ndama imene amanga seti ndinyanga bange profit. Yes? And equally important are policies for science, technology, innovation, intellectual property rights that we are going to look at in the next lesson. And basic requirements is the presence of safe, predictable legal and regulatory frameworks. So within a stable government. So we are looking at these legal frameworks as being important because this is how farmers can be protected. An example that we can look at in the legal frameworks is Ntani yangu ngole, watenga ngole in the paricolatero, masuna anawasa ngole juma you have been unable to pay, right? The Reserve Bank of Malawi provides a provision for that where okay, that mother niko wenza ngole ifolo mutu mana ngu mbanga invest in agricultural practice. Kumashanga chimene let's say product miona banga sina chiti. As in, for example, that's the only source of income. Yes? How are they going to be protected from the issue of the loan? Kuti akatamulanda katundu, akamulanda katundu agenda, minanga kwa niye lese ngole nina ading, and all those. So the legal framework allows for farmers to be protected in issues, for example, such as loans, availability or being involved in other agencies that assist in agricultural innovation. And lastly, in innovation, it is also made up of companies, whether large or small, profit-seeking institutions. Um, Innovation has been specifically attached to agricultural structure transformation, including the value chain, where a lot of non-profit organizations akumathandiza in innovation, kumathandiza in better practices, because mainly the government does not have enough resources to assist the agricultural innovation practices. So normally, even in research funding or in research itself, in development, and also improving agricultural innovation, non-profit organizations have really stepped up in assisting particularly small-scale farmers to promote their agricultural productivity. Moreover, the private sector stands at the forefront of innovation processes, and it is a source and the primary recipient of new technologies, because the private sector generally is the one that responds in terms of demand and also supply of certain goods and services. Any questions on innovation? So we have talked about the structural transformation under Unit 3, and we have been talking about innovation. So the third topic on this Unit 3, is agriculture and environmental problems. Agriculture and environmental problems. So by understanding of what I've been discussing, agriculture and environmental problems are coming in because generally agriculture is the energy consuming, it is also water consuming, right? And it also distorts the ecosystem. And kama inavuta alime mamalo paja, being on the rural areas, they are they are very good, and that can affect the ecosystem. And also in terms of environmental problems in regards to pesticides, I mean, fertilizers, and all of those. So you see that agriculture has got implications on the environment. So agriculture accounts for the major share of human use of land. We clear out a lot of trees and habitats because of agriculture. Automatically, when we do that, we are reducing the carbon dioxide sink. So we know that trees absorb carbon dioxide, yes? Yeah. So when we clear out those trees, we are reducing the carbon dioxide sink. Crops and livestock production have profound effect on wider environment. So we can see how they affect the environment in terms of the processes that we use in crops and also livestock production. They are the main source of water pollution by nitrates, phosphates, and pesticides. Also, this information, when you're looking at water pollution and also increased water use, it happens probably in a lot of developed countries where there is large-scale agricultural products. So whatever, it doesn't go through a washing system. My ones that they have to sort it. So as I put it is both energy and water consuming. So it pollutes the water, and chemical fertilizers and pesticides. It has to sink, and it needs other water bodies. So you find that where agricultural productivity is using some resources that affect the environment, there is intense water pollution, and contributes to a massive scale of other types of pollution, such as air and water pollution as well. So the extent and the method of agriculture, forestry, and fishing are leading to the causes of loss of world's biodiversity. The overall external cost of all these three sectors can be considered. So when you're looking at fishing, generally, my areas are mainly they are close to the rivers. How about overfish it? and it's affecting the biodiversity because when they constantly fish, they're affecting the water ecosystem or the aquatic ecosystem. Um, Agriculture also affects the basis of its own future through land degradation. Salinization. You know what salinization is? Concentration. What? Okay, so concentration of minerals and elements through, first of all, fertilizer application. If not nutrients amene plant ijaimatenga amakhala maybe a few. Ena amene amataya that they are concentrated there. And the other thing is nutrients amene ali mu soil kale aja, there are some of them they sort of get concentrated because plants generally they have a preference of certain nutrients over others. The extraction of water and reduction of genetic diversity in crops and livestock. In terms of genetic diversity, do you know the difference? Are you able to tell the difference? Do you know the difference? Have you heard of anything? Yeah, chimangala magove chimabezolo tukagayisa tawa kunwa chimangala ili makayoti umatupa ufawa wasiana ndi cha hybrid hichi 2 kg imene ukwati waigayisa ukamaka siti makandira simu imatenga nthawi kuti ufa umene umayika umakhala ambiri as opposed to the. So in the long run you are finding that this genetic diversity in crops, they are affecting agriculture because people now they are opting to use genetically modified products. And because of this, it's also affecting the general environment because we are moving towards agricultural products that are more genetically modified and not organic. However, the long-term consequences of these processes are difficult to quantify. So people just come up with a narrative according to the community that they live in. So if more sustainable production methods are used, the negative impacts of agriculture on the environment can be attenuated. So indeed, in some cases, agriculture can play an important role in reversing them. For example, storing carbon in the soil, enhancing the infiltration of water, preserving rural landscape and biodiversity. So this is coming in, for example, in enhancing infiltration of water, where so with increase the maybe changes in the climate, vegetation. There's some sort of vegetation or agriculture. So it preserves the water and also the landscape of that particular community. Furthermore, we look at fertilizers, manures, and pesticides. These are the key issues in terms of agriculture. Because people want, so the reason why these are key issues is because for us to increase agricultural productivity, the amount of yield that you are going to get. So in order for us to increase yield and to and in a lot of countries they had moved away from manure and organic fertilizers to moving towards chemical fertilizers that have challenged the soil of the communities. So you can see that by agricultural chemicals and waste is a major issue in almost all developed countries, particularly in developed countries and increasingly in many developing countries. So in many developing countries, it's becoming a challenge for not to use chemical fertilizers. We ran away or we shied away from using manure into the farming process. So pollution from fertilizers occurs when they are applied more heavily than crops, can absorb, or when they are washed or blown off the soil surface before they can be incorporated. So in Amazon fertilizer and this is how it affects the soil. Furthermore, fertilizer and manure such as those with excess nitrogen and phosphates can leach into groundwater and run off into waterways. So we give an example of this eutrophication, where mungaona kumabedu kuje kubone gotu kulingati kadimpa yonje. So ngarama si fertilizer unja amalowa into the water body. Because the malaria has grown a lot of algae and so on. So when you're looking at that water, it doesn't look like it's water that is good because it has been affected. About create abundance of the algae and microbials in the water to give them more growth abilities. And furthermore, pesticides can reduce biodiversity by destroying weeds and insects, and hence food species of birds and other animals. So you know chile it's what benefits to other plant species. So chile when you apply those chemicals, they are bad for the surrounding ecosystem because other plants, insects, and other animals rely on those herbs or those weeds for food. And fertilizer and manure also has a concern with pollution and loss of biodiversity. So in developed countries, use is increasingly restrained by regulation and taxes. My kwanza tunapanga add tax on these pesticides, and there's also regulation in terms of the type of pesticides that can be used. In addition, use will be curbed by growing demand of organic crops produced without chemical input. So my kwanza anapanga create a system where products are labeled as organic and they fetch at a higher price, and people are more they are demanding these products significantly more than the ones that are being produced in a more chemically induced environment. So the future is likely to see an increase in use of smart pesticides. For example, in India, they use neem. You've heard of neem, Kamena, you haven't heard of it? You haven't heard of neem. So it's like, and pamene pani tengo mino wakuzondi it dispenses its seed and tumamina timo tumuno sotin. So you can just look up or hear or ask about the neem tree. So the neem tree has got a lot of properties in which some countries are using this as a pesticide. Particularly, for example, Amina Malima fruits, particularly those that harvest fruits and vegetables. It is an effective pesticide that is more smart and ecologically friendly. So ecological pest management focuses on preventing rather than reactive approaches to pest management. So ecological pest management uses a mechanism in agricultural production that allows for intercropping. So you know that, for example, onions, it's a natural pesticide. Yeah? So in other countries they use this in terms of I don't know if there is that plant here. There are also several plants that they have this stagnant scented, which is a natural pesticide, and some countries will use that, will incorporate those plants into their cropping mechanism to act as natural pesticides. So because of this, it affects it is more ecologically friendly. For example, what tomato, put tomato finance. They could eat my pesticide that not those bugs and whatever won't come, as opposed to using pesticides. Furthermore, agriculture has a cause on air pollution. So agriculture is a source of air pollution and it is dominant as a progenic source of ammonia. For example, so livestock accounts for about 10% of global emissions. Even those animal feces produce a lot of ammonia as well. And mineral fertilizers for 16% and biomass burning and crop residues for about 18%. So zikamaolerana ma crops that they produce ammonia as well. So ammonia is even acidifying than sulfur dioxide. And in one of the major causes of acid rain, which damages trees, acidifies the soil, lakes, and rivers, and harms the biodiversity. So, as other acidification gases such as sulfur dioxide are brought under tight control, ammonia may in time become the leading cause of acidification. Furthermore, the burning of plant biomass is another major source of air pollution, including carbon dioxide and several others. It estimates that humans are responsible for about 90% of biomass burning, mainly through deliberate burning of fossil vegetation in association with deforestation, pastures, crop residues, and promote regrowth and destroying pest habitats. So you can see that agriculture is an issue, primarily in terms of environmental challenges, particularly when you are looking at the pressure of biodiversity. So agriculture, forestry, fisheries are perhaps the most significant human pressure on biodiversity of land and the seas. And species richness is closely related to an area with wild habitat. So as the area declines, so does the number of species it harbors through a slow rate. So you can find that a particular community or particular region can experience a reduction in biodiversity or availability of species. Maybe you wouldn't know, but then in rural communities, they rely on birds for protein. So with the issues of agriculture, maybe some of these indigenous sources of protein have been affected, and also affect the availability of food for rural communities. So deforestation, field amalgamation with the accompanying reduction in field margins and borders, the drainage of wetlands for farming, reduce the overall area availability of wildlife, fragment natural habitat. Mwina mala mina manema mondo bezika, mwina mbalamu, kabina, monkeys and all some of those species, but it reduces because generally those areas have been grazed or either overgrazed or deforested for agricultural productivity. So grazing, as we can see, lowers species richness in pastures. So I talked about the agricultural intensification in terms of when we're using fertilizers, we're using pesticides, it also puts pressure on biodiversity. So that's this explanation is just coming in terms of the use of pesticides, particularly pesticides and herbicides that affect and destroy insects and unwanted plants, and also affect the biodiversity that I've talked about previously. So finally, on the pressure of biodiversity, intensification entails its own range of environmental risks related to pesticides, chemical fertilizers, animal waste, and the increasing inclusion of environmental considerations in agricultural policy will help to counteract these issues. So what this means is coming up with solutions to address the issues with agriculture and the environment. So this would include tighter regulation. So as national strategies on management of animal waste, use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides can be required. So for example, what do they do with that animal waste? So that would be not all countries, Kabila not all regions. There are some maybe we just dump it out and so on. Muna Magadaya, Hamarabot, it's processed to the river, it's washed away, something like that. So there's regulation in addressing these issues because Ngatata Hamarabot kwa Ndikiramanzi, Sindawuti they are just polluting the water. But mainly that what we have know is particularly used as manure. And the use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides may be required along with the removals of subsidies on chemicals and fossil energy inputs. Pesticides should be subject to more rigorous testing and residue build-up more closely monitored. So the rigorous testing suggests how the research and development puts into play to research the effects of the pesticides in the long run. For example, using longitudinal research and residue build-up in terms of ngati malo amathiratira that pesticide. What, for example, is it only much away what is the projected effect of continuous use of specific pesticides? So that concludes Unit 3. We have talked about innovation. Here we're talking about the effects of agriculture on the environment. We've talked about innovation and the structural transformation in agriculture. So unfortunately, we remain with 2 other topics, right? So that's the reason why I said we should extend it to the next hour. So what we can do is take the rest of maybe another 10 minutes break while we wait for we should find another class, because maybe this class is ready to die. So that we can cover at least that one other topic. That yes. That has class.
Hey, 3 times.
Yes. You have been coming to class. So this is the content. Because we only have 1 week, what can we do? So we can just take a break and then we continue for the next hour. What there's nothing that we can do. It's not just the holy. Because if we are there on the holy, it means we have the other one. But with this, Kavena, do you have another space that we can fit this into?
Like 9.
Yes, we have 5 days.
No.
Yes, sir.
1 to 3.
But 1 to 3, I also have another class in social work. So my free days is Tuesday. So Tuesday, Monday I have 2 classes, Wednesday I have 2 classes. Friday, Thursday I have 2 classes, and Friday.
Monday you got tired and
No, this is 5 o'clock. No, this is the proper class. So the 1 hour that I'm asking you is make up for that one. Yeah. Because actually when according to
I think it's like Tuesday mark and lessons. Yeah.
it's on the sociology one you got to choose.
I know you got to Thursday.
Social I mean psychology. Thursday.
No, we don't use the choose the number.
Choose the number and class.
Or another one goes to another.
So 1 hour. So it's the same. Where if I was saying good an hour, so because the hour that I'm talking about is this week, an hour for this week and an hour for next week, because we need a total of 2 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
So even if I teach you balance, it's still going to account for the 1 hour. So I don't know if you mean good balance to bring it up to the single age. Monday.
5 Monday, pakati gosta 8 timangokhala timazalo wanu
What about Friday?
Friday roses siti mabwera komana muda timulipira oyalimeka class
10 to 12.
You're free on Friday, you can start around 8.
Friday I can come so we can have a class from 11 to 1.
as a class.
We 10 to 12. Yeah, because it's possible for us to just fit the 2 hours into one class instead of breaking it up into 1 hour. So, yeah.
Iwe ujeni manje umakama kwa zanga.
But Monday is my full day. Monday I teach the whole day, so I don't have time. Tuesday, the time that ndimakana and ndi ndababa. Tuesday I'm free from 11.
Ologabena. Mesa tukozalanga kuti manje tsemwani balanti then kozalo ngizisa. Zamba soloti from lunch to early stream. We should make up for your last teacher. That will make it up for.
Yeah,
you are man
my business.
Magasus.
I can't teach you another hour.
Yeah.
Because lunch hour ni minimum can impact at least I should rest. Yeah. So the other time they put it is Tuesday. Kapena. Yeah, so as I'm putting it, building Kapena Friday. But Friday, you might have the class from 1. That's why I said 11 to 1 would have been okay. Thursday I have 4 classes. Wednesday I have 4 classes.
They also have 4 classes.
Below I have classes in the morning. That's why in Manila it's okay behind me. So it's the 2 hours that is there. Because when I look at this content, it's something that, and actually above with the content that I was teaching here, it's something that I had to race down it because the way that I normally teach since the other one we have. Because the challenge is when you have started post year, mapuzira zintuzocheva up until next semester. Yes? It's not easy to do enough. Muda kwa tunapuzira kwa mtu you have had enough time. Kama zina is okay. So you had enough of time and you did it. So that's a sacrifice that all of in order to be seen na do it. Kama that's a sacrifice we will have to make. Because if we learn this 1 hour and then we come up with another hour where we can structure it next week as we are putting it, from lunch again. So
lunch
yeah, putting lunch on Tuesday from 12 to 3. That's what you said, eh? Yeah, put 1 hour eat because there isn't another space in which we can learn again. Unless you are telling me not Friday, we can learn from 11 to 12. Come as you are putting not already my transport, you are coming just for 1 class. Again, it's another issue.
I think that was about complaining much.
Someone can complain transport.
I don't know what I do.
Transport yale lori lipo complaining. Umenanga complain. Yale lori for 4 o'clock because I am stage by 4 o'clock. You see, umafika mpaka
No account.
for 9.
Ah,
Ma transport aje tu. Sini makalo 25 kasi ngakwenza 25.
yeah,
Madam mafusa ntamina ngola mbele.
Kwenda uzenda.
Umeyo.
But okay, now at 5 o'clock, but by 4 o'clock, I'm sure we can just.
Mumaona kuyo makaba mimi.
That's so that's a choice that all of us we have to make a sacrifice. Because it's not like it's just you, it's also me. Because the entire with the but I have made this sacrifice because this is the content that I have to teach you.
Online thing ate.
No. Because the my online classes and because online classes anyway, can you pause this? And the online